She was kicked out of the house while pregnant. Years later her husband was shocked to see her rich. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. Anna stood at the doorway of the home she had shared with David for 5 years. Her heart racing as the words he had just spoken echoed in her mind. The home they had built together, filled with memories, laughter and love, now seemed like a stranger's house, cold and unwelcoming. "You think I'm what?" she asked, her voice shaking with disbelief. David's face was hard. His usual warm blue eyes now distant and filled with anger. He crossed his arms over his chest, as if defending himself from an unseen attack. "Don't pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about, Anna. I'm not stupid." Anna felt a tremor run through her as she instinctively placed a hand on her swollen belly. 6 months pregnant with their first child, she couldn't believe what was happening. David had always been protective, a loving husband who showered her with affection. But over the last few months, something had shifted. He had become distant, suspicious, questioning her every move. "You've been cheating on me," he said, the accusation cutting through her like a knife. "I saw the texts, Anna. Don't try to deny it." She blinked, confused. "What text?" "David, I have never." "Stop lying," he shouted, his voice booming in the room. "I saw them. Late-night messages from some guy named Mark. Meeting up with him behind my back, laughing at me while you carry his child." Anna's heart dropped. She had no idea what he was talking about, but David's rage was real, visceral. It scared her. She tried to step closer, reaching out to him, but he backed away, refusing to let her come near. "David, please," she begged. "I don't know what you've seen, but I swear on our child, I have never cheated on you. I love you, only you." He laughed bitterly, a sound she had never heard from him before. "You expect me to believe that? You're nothing but a liar. Pack your things and get out." Anna stood frozen, her mind unable to process his words. Get out? Where would she go? She had no family nearby, no friends she could turn to in this moment. Everything she had was here in this house with David. And now he was throwing her out over a lie. "David, don't do this," she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "Please, let's talk. Let's work this out. You're my husband and I love you." But David's face remained unmoved. His jaw clenched tight. "You have 1 hour," he said coldly, before turning and walking away. The door to their bedroom slammed shut, and Anna stood there, staring at the closed door, her whole world crumbling around her. Her body shook with sobs as she clutched her belly, whispering to her unborn child that everything would be okay. Even though she didn't believe it herself, she couldn't stay here. Not with David like this. Not with the man she loved turning into someone she no longer recognized. Gathering what little strength she had left, Anna stumbled toward the hallway closet and pulled out an old suitcase. Her hands trembled as she packed what few clothes she could grab, each movement slow and painful as the reality of her situation set in. By the time she zipped up the suitcase, she heard the bedroom door open again. David emerged, but he didn't say a word. He simply tossed a set of keys onto the counter and turned his back on her once more. "Take the car," he muttered before disappearing into the shadows of the house. Anna stood for a moment, staring at the keys. The car was their shared vehicle, but now it felt like a consolation prize, a cold reminder that her life here was over. Without another word, she grabbed the keys, lifted her suitcase, and walked out the door. The night air was sharp and biting, a stark contrast to the warmth she had once felt in this place. As she drove away, her heart broke with every mile, and her thoughts spiraled into a dark abyss. How could this have happened? How could David believe such a lie? Who had done this to them? She felt utterly alone, betrayed, and terrified for the future that lay ahead. The first night she spent in a run-down motel, the only place she could afford in the moment. It was small, musty, and far from the life she had known with David. The bed creaked beneath her weight as she lay down, tears streaming silently down her face as she caressed her belly. The baby moved inside her, a faint kick, as if reminding her that she wasn't completely alone. "I'm sorry," she whispered into the dark room. "I'm so sorry." Days turned into weeks as Anna tried to adjust to her new life. With no place to go, she reached out to her estranged mother, who had lived in the next town over. Their relationship had been strained for years, but now, with no one else to turn to, Anna swallowed her pride and made the call. To her surprise, her mother, Evelyn, agreed to take her in. There was no warmth in the reunion, no tearful apologies or embraces. Evelyn had always been a distant, cold woman, but at least she wasn't throwing her out. "You can stay for as long as you need," Evelyn had said, her voice clipped. "But don't expect any handouts. You'll have to pull your own weight." Anna agreed, though her heart sank. She had no job, no savings, and now no husband. The weight of everything felt unbearable. As the months passed, she found work as a receptionist at a local clinic, but it barely paid enough to cover her expenses. Still, she pressed on, determined to make it work for her unborn child. The day her son, Liam, was born, was the happiest moment in her life. As she held him in her arms, his tiny fingers gripping her own, she felt a new sense of purpose. It wasn't about David anymore. It wasn't about the betrayal or the lies. It was about this little life she had brought into the world, the one thing that was truly hers. Yet, in the back of her mind, the questions still lingered. Why had David done this? What had caused him to believe she had been unfaithful? She had replayed every moment of their life together, trying to find the point where everything had gone wrong, but it always led back to that night, to those mysterious texts he had claimed to see. And now, 3 years later, as she stood in the middle of her modest apartment, looking at Liam playing on the floor, the ghosts of the past still haunted her. Anna couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to what happened that night than David's accusations. Even though she had built a life for herself and Liam, the shadows of the past still lingered, gnawing at her. Her son had grown into a healthy, lively 3-year-old, the center of her world, and she had found some stability working part-time at a small law firm. Yet, every now and then, something reminded her of David, of the home they once shared, and of the betrayal that left her life in ruins. Her mother, Evelyn, remained distant, offering little comfort in times of emotional struggle. Living in Evelyn's house was tolerable but cold. It never felt like home. And even though Evelyn had never asked for the details of what had driven Anna from David, she often made snide comments that made Anna feel small. "I told you from the start that marrying him was a mistake," Evelyn would say, often with a cigarette in hand. "Men like him don't change. They're all the same." Anna never had the strength to argue back. The truth was, she had loved David deeply, and a part of her still did. That love made the betrayal all the more painful. But now her focus was on Liam. Everything she did was for him, to give him the life he deserved. One afternoon, as she sifted through some old boxes in Evelyn's attic, searching for things to sell for extra cash, she stumbled upon something she hadn't expected. An old envelope, crinkled and torn at the edges. The envelope had her name on it, written in David's unmistakable handwriting. She stared at it for a long moment, frozen with a mixture of curiosity and dread. Why would David have left a letter here? When could he have possibly left it? Had Evelyn known all along? Her hands trembled as she opened it, revealing a single sheet of paper inside. As she read the words, her heart sank. "Anna, I know you won't believe this right now, but I need you to hear me out. I never meant for things to happen the way they did. There's something you don't know, something I kept from you, and I can't keep living with it. I didn't mean to accuse you without proof. I should have told you the truth from the start, but I didn't know how. You're the only person I've ever truly loved, and I let that slip away because of my own guilt." Anna's eyes blurred as tears welled up, the weight of his words pressing down on her chest. She couldn't believe what she was reading. What guilt? What truth? Why hadn't he told her? She sat down heavily on the floor, her legs giving way beneath her. Her mind raced, trying to piece together the puzzle. David had always been the confident one in their relationship, never showing signs of weakness. What guilt could he have been carrying? And why had he accused her so viciously? The letter ended abruptly, without giving her the answers she so desperately craved. But it left her with a new resolve. She had to know the truth. She had to understand why David had destroyed their marriage, and she owed it to herself, and to Liam, to get closure. Later that night, after putting Liam to bed, Anna found herself pacing the living room, her mind whirling. Should she contact David? It had been 3 years since they last spoke. She had never gone after him for child support or tried to rekindle contact for the sake of Liam. It had been too painful, and the wounds were too deep. But now, with this letter in hand, she knew there was more to the story. After a sleepless night, Anna made the decision. The next morning, she called a private investigator, someone who could dig into David's life without her having to confront him directly. She had saved enough money to cover the expenses, and she felt a strange sense of anticipation as she explained the situation. "I just need to know what's been going on with him," she said to the investigator over the phone. "There's something I'm missing. He left a letter and I don't understand it. Can you find out what happened?" The investigator, a woman named Claire, sounded confident. "I'll get to the bottom of it. Give me a week." For the next 7 days, Anna waited with bated breath, going through the motions of daily life but with her mind constantly on edge. She replayed every argument, every loving moment, every interaction she had ever had with David, hoping to find clues to the mystery. But nothing made sense. How could he have been hiding something so significant? A week later, Claire called her back. "Anna, I found something," she said, her voice tense. "I don't know how to tell you this, but you need to brace yourself." Anna's heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" There was no other man. David knew that. Anna frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" Claire hesitated. "It turns out that David had been seeing someone else. A woman named Lauren. He met her months before he accused you of cheating. It looks like he was projecting his own guilt onto you." Anna gasped, the room spinning around her. He was the one who cheated." Her voice was barely above a whisper, the betrayal sinking deeper into her chest. "Yes. And it gets worse," Claire continued. "Lauren didn't know about you at first. When she found out, she confronted David. From what I've gathered, she threatened to expose him. But instead of confessing, he turned it all on you to save himself." The world seemed to collapse around Anna as Claire's words sank in. David had been the one who cheated. The accusations, the anger, it had all been a cover for his own infidelity. He had destroyed their marriage to protect his secret. "I'm so sorry, Anna," Claire said softly. "I know this is a lot to take in." Anna couldn't speak. She felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath her. All these years, she had believed she had done something wrong, that she had somehow pushed David away. But it had been him all along. As she hung up the phone, the weight of the truth pressed down on her, suffocating her. She had spent years questioning herself, doubting her worth, all because of David's cowardice. And now, he had moved on with his life, while she had been left to pick up the pieces of her shattered heart. But this revelation also sparked something inside her, a fire that had long been extinguished. She wasn't going to let David get away with this. She wasn't going to let him continue living his lie while she suffered in silence. Anna looked at her reflection in the mirror, a new determination in her eyes. She had let David control the narrative for too long. It was time to take back her power, to reclaim her life, and to make him face the consequences of his actions. She wasn't the broken woman he had left behind. She was stronger now, and she was ready to fight back. The fire inside Anna didn't dim over the following days. It grew stronger, fueled by years of betrayal and the newfound truth. She no longer felt like the woman David had discarded. The guilt, the shame, the self-doubt, it all melted away as she focused on one thing: confronting David and setting things right, not just for herself but for her son. But Anna wasn't naive. She knew that confronting David would require more than just showing up on his doorstep with her anger and demands. No, this had to be strategic. She wanted him to feel the weight of his actions, to understand the depth of the pain he had caused. The first step was ensuring her financial security. With Claire's help, Anna uncovered that David had made some rather poor financial decisions over the years, investing heavily in risky ventures. And now, as a result of his reckless spending, David's company was on the brink of collapse. The timing was almost poetic. His house of cards was crumbling, just as she was regaining her strength. It was during one of these discussions with Claire that Anna learned something that would change everything. In the course of her investigation, Claire had discovered an even bigger secret. David hadn't just cheated and lied about Anna's supposed infidelity. He had also tried to hide a family inheritance that was rightfully hers. A trust fund had been set up in Anna's name by David's late father, but David had siphoned money from it, keeping it hidden, likely planning to claim it for himself after their divorce. The enormity of the betrayal struck Anna once again. Not only had he taken away her dignity and shattered her trust, but he had also stolen her financial future. The fury inside her boiled over. This was the last straw. David had to be held accountable, and Anna knew exactly how to do it. Armed with the information about the hidden trust fund, Anna hired a lawyer. With enough evidence of David's embezzlement from the trust, she had a solid case against him. The lawsuit would not only reclaim what was hers but also expose David's financial misdeeds, potentially destroying his already precarious reputation. He would be forced to face the truth, in both legal and personal realms. But Anna didn't stop there. In her quiet moments, she crafted a letter to David. She wanted to make sure he knew what was coming, but she also wanted him to feel every ounce of guilt and regret for what he had done. It wasn't enough for him to face legal consequences. He needed to understand the emotional destruction he had left in his wake. With the letter in hand, Anna sat at her kitchen table one evening, the house quiet except for the gentle sound of Liam breathing as he slept in the next room. She read over her words one last time, ensuring that every sentence carried the weight of the truth she had uncovered. The letter wasn't long, but it was powerful. David, I've spent 3 years wondering what I did wrong, questioning myself, and trying to understand how our life together fell apart. I thought I was the one who destroyed our marriage, that I had pushed you away. But now I know the truth. I know about Lauren. I know about the lies you told not just to me but to yourself. You projected your guilt onto me because you couldn't bear to face the consequences of your own actions. You accused me of cheating to cover up the fact that you were the one who had been unfaithful. You destroyed our marriage to protect yourself. But that's not all, is it? You didn't just break my heart. You stole from me the trust fund your father left for me, the one you've been siphoning off for years. I know about that too. I thought about confronting you in person, but you don't deserve that. You don't deserve to see the pain in my eyes or hear the tremor in my voice. Instead, I'm letting the law take care of that. My lawyer will be in touch soon. But more than anything, I want you to know that I'm not the woman you threw out of our house all those years ago. I'm stronger now, and I've built a life for myself and for our son. You may have tried to break me, but you only made me stronger. One day, when Liam is old enough, I'll tell him the truth about what you did. Not to punish you, but so he can understand the kind of person I am. The kind of person who rose from the ashes of your betrayal. Anna. The next day, with the letter ready and the legal papers in motion, Anna felt a strange sense of calm wash over her. She had always been strong, but now she truly felt it. She wasn't running from the past anymore. She was confronting it head-on, and it was empowering. When the envelope with her letter finally reached David's office a few days later, she imagined his reaction. She could picture the moment he opened it, the look of shock on his face as he read her words. For once, David would have to face the consequences of his actions, both financially and emotionally. And soon, the legal notice would follow, ensuring that David would pay back every cent he had stolen from her. The lawsuit would shake his already fragile company, and as the media caught wind of the story, David's reputation would be irreparably damaged. But Anna wasn't just after revenge. This was about reclaiming her life, her dignity, and her future. It was about showing David and herself that she could rise above the pain and create a better life for her and Liam. Several weeks later, as the lawsuit unfolded in court, Anna received a call from David. His voice was weak, broken, and full of regret. "Anna," he began, hesitating. "I don't even know what to say. I was wrong. I've lost everything. And it's all my fault. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I'm sorry." Anna listened, her heart calm but resolute. She didn't need his apology, nor did she want it. The truth was, she had already moved on. She had already won. "I'm not doing this for you, David," she replied, her voice steady. "I'm doing this for myself, for our son. You'll have to live with what you've done." "I already have." With that, she hung up, feeling a sense of closure she hadn't expected. The power had shifted. No longer the victim, Anna had taken control of her own story. In the months that followed, Anna's life continued to flourish. She had won the lawsuit, reclaiming not only the stolen inheritance but also her sense of self-worth. She moved out of her mother's house and bought a small, cozy home for herself and Liam. It wasn't extravagant, but it was hers, built on the foundation of her hard work and resilience. As for David, his company collapsed under the weight of the scandal, and he eventually disappeared from public life. Anna never heard from him again, and she preferred it that way. Anna had rebuilt her life from the ashes of betrayal, and now, as she watched Liam play in their backyard, she smiled to herself, knowing that the future was hers to shape. She had faced the truth, fought her battles, and emerged stronger than ever. The past no longer haunted her. It had made her who she was: a survivor, a mother, and a woman who had reclaimed her own power. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story.